stopped trying to prove that I could do everything and rather took a step back and started to prove I could do one small thing consistently, right? Back to the working out story. Showing up consistently, setting my alarm, getting disciplined enough to show up every single day. It rewires your brain. My other is I get up and do my devotional every single morning. I spend time with God every morning and in gratitude. 3 things I'm grateful for every morning. But because I started, and when I started, it wasn't as consistent. But once I started and got into that routine, the more consistent it's come. And it's proven to my brain that with action and with consistency, I'm going to show up and do what I say I'm going to do. I've been listening to Mel Robbins. She's my newest book. She talks about movement and action. She says the key isn't motivation, because motivation comes and goes. If we rely on motivation, and you hear this a lot with your motivational speakers too, if you rely only on motivation, then as soon as that motivation runs out, you stop working, right? You stop doing whatever it is you say you're going to do. Like, I love motivational videos. And a lot of times when I'm doing my workouts, that's what I'll listen to, because what better way to get pumped up than to listen to just some good, powerful motivation, something to gut punch me every time and get me out of my own head. But what happens when that motivation runs out? So what she says is it's not about motivation, rather it's movement that we need. So just doing it before your brain talks you out of it. You don't need to focus on the whole plan. You don't need the perfect routine. You just need the first 5 minutes of action. So something that I know my mindset coach talked about is if you're having a hard time taking action, maybe you're stuck in a rut, lacking that motivation, set yourself in a timer for 5 minutes. And you are going to use that 5 minutes. Have yourself a list of things you want to get done. This is what I'm doing in this 5 minutes. Non-negotiable. I'm going to do it. Start taking action during that 5 minutes. That's what you're doing. And then again, when we're talking about your goals, your plans, whatever that might be, whatever that looks like for you. All right. Mine is my coaching business. I would love to make this my full time with time. In time. That is my goal. But I also know that I've got to start small, right? It's small chunks, a little bit of action every single day. Something that she talked about in her book, Mel Robbins. She was talking to this gentleman, and his biggest thing was the same thing, fear of getting started. But his was even bigger than that, like fear of getting to the end of his life and not living out the life he wanted. Not getting his goals accomplished, not like he set these big expectations for himself. And so what Mel talked about was that's actually really common in just humans in general. And we feel like we're in this race against time. And I know we get, we think about how life isn't promised to us, right? The next breath we take is never promised to us. But sometimes we use that in a way to put this panic and this anxiety and this fear inside of ourselves that we just have to go. And in reality, we need to take a step back and realize that we are where we need to be in the moment. And that's something that's a big mindset shift that I have really worked on in the last couple of years is I am where I need to be in the moment. Struggles and all, pain and all, good times. Every single bit of it is something that I can learn and implement into my own coaching. Everything that I come across, I can use in my advantage for my life. So it's not that it's a race against time. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't show up with urgency and I'm not still taking the action. But as long as I'm taking action and moving forward, that's what matters. And that's what she talks about too, as she's coaching this gentleman, is like find the one small thing that's going to get you one more step forward. And then once you've accomplished that, what's the next small thing? Don't focus on that big picture. Yes, that's great that that's your vision, that's your goal. But how can you take that big picture and break it into bite-sized pieces so that it's more manageable and it's not as overwhelming? And when you do that and you start taking that consistent action that we've been talking about, you are more likely to get to that goal, less likely to let fear talk you out of it. So whatever it is, especially if you're watching this on replay, right? Pause this for me. What's that one big goal you're working towards? Write that goal down. What is one small thing you can do today to get you one step closer? Okay. And then once you accomplish that, what's one small thing you can do next to get you one step closer? Guys, it's not a race against time. All right. It's not a race against who can get there the fastest. And I know in my space, when I see other coaches that are super accomplished, it's so easy to play that comparison game. I would love to be where Tony Robbins is at. I would love to be where some of these other coaches that have been doing it for years are at, but I have to stop and tell myself they've had to go through these same struggles. They've had to go through the same mindset shifts and pain to get where they're at. If they didn't, they wouldn't be the coach that they are today. They wouldn't have the life stories to tell. They wouldn't be relatable to their audience, right? So same with you, whatever it is, whatever that big goal is, great. You have a big goal. You have a vision. That is important. But what small steps can you take to get you there? Stop focusing and getting overwhelmed by that big, scary goal and figure out what you can do today to get you there, okay? You're not in a race against time. It is a marathon. It is not a sprint. Enjoy the journey, fall in love with the journey. And that sounds so crazy, especially in the hard moments, But what can you learn even from the hard that's going to get you one step closer